Hi everyone, and welcome to my fourth Flosstube. It's really lovely to see you all again. It's been a bit of a gap since the last video, which was at the end of March, because I went down with some foul, evil bug thing, and I had pretty much no voice for quite a lot of that time. And yeah, it's gone on for a long time. I'm over the bug now, but it's knocked me back quite badly in terms of my chronic illnesses, which hasn't been at all nice. And it's the first bug I've had since 2019, because I've been shielding for so long. And it's definitely been good not getting smashed out by these things. But anyway, I'm now back for an update, and I have got quite a lot of news. So first up, the Hubble Stitchalong. We're nearly at the next instalment. The fifth instalment is coming out on Saturday. I'm filming this on Tuesday, but I haven't done an update on the last instalment that came out 3.5 weeks ago. So the last instalment was the Open Cluster NGC 602, which is this beautiful purple image, and this is an open cluster of stars set amongst a nebula in the Small Magellanic Cloud, which is one of the satellite galaxies to the Milky Way. And we've had a couple of nebulae so far in this stitch-along, which have both been planetary nebulae, which form at the end of stars' lives. You also get nebulae like this one, which are related to the beginning of stars' lives in the cycle of life. So these clouds of gas and dust collapse into themselves through the force of gravity, and that is how stars start to form. And then as you get the new stars glowing within this cloud of gas and dust, they then illuminate them, as is happening here in this image. And the radiation also starts to blow away what's left of the gas. And so you get these beautiful structures within the cloud. So that's been really nice to see people stitching this one. There's been quite a lot of stitched images up in the group, which has been really lovely. And we have number 5 coming out on Saturday, which is of course currently a secret, but I will update you on that in the next video. So in news for my website, which I've been quite excited about, I managed to register within Ireland to pay EU VAT or taxes, which have to be added on to each sale of anything into the EU. And I haven't been able to do this so far, so I had to have a notice on all my products on my website directing people to buy on Etsy, where the taxes are added automatically. And now I have finally registered, thanks to Amy of Lola Crow Cross Stitch, who's an amazing designer, and she taught me through what to do. She's the only person I know of that's done this, and so that was really good, because it was just daunting. And I'd originally heard you had to have an address within the EU, which I obviously don't have, but now it seems that you don't. So I've registered, which has been quite a long process. I've got a pretty envelope all the way from Ireland with my confirmation with a rather nice harp on it. Little things, please little minds. And I've had several sales to customers in the EU on the website already. So that's brilliant. That means everybody in the world can now buy on my website, which is how I wanted it to be. And I'll submit quarterly tax returns into the EU, into the Irish tax system, which will then be paid into the countries of the buyers. Because how it works is that the tax is added on according to the country of the buyer, and it's then paid back into your country. So yeah, that's been an adventure, and I hope my first quarterly tax return in July goes all right. I've also been doing my general UK tax accounts, and so I'll be able to get those submitted soon, which would be good. Get them done nice and early. So that was exciting tax news. I have had a feature in World of Cross Stitch magazine, World of Cross Stitching, here we are, which has got a rather nice horse on the cover, and they featured my We Stand With You pattern for Ukraine. Hold up nice and close. So that was really nice that they featured this. This is a fundraising pattern. Every penny after the payment processing fees goes to the Ukraine humanitarian appeal. £370, 20 pence raised so far by all you lovely people, which is amazing, and it has had a boost of sales from this feature, which is really lovely. So yeah, that's still available on the website, so definitely check that out. I made it nearly a year and a half ago now, when the invasion of Ukraine first happened, and it's terribly sad that it's now a year and a half on and everything is still so difficult for those in Ukraine. So I have quite a few new patterns, which I have managed to do because I was able to, once I'd finished the James Webb Stitchalong, got it off to my stitcher, which I'll talk more about later, I was able to actually crack on with some new patterns which had all been building up in my mind. So I went through those. So first up, we've got the awareness ribbon pattern, which is completely free. It's available on the website for nothing. You can download it. It's my fourth free pattern that I have available now. And so this has got 8 different colour schemes and a full backstitch alphabet to personalise it with. So that you can stitch it for any cause close to your heart. You can change the colour schemes according to which colour ribbon you're wanting to stitch for. I've put example conditions under the ribbons, but the idea is that you use the backstitch text to personalise it with the wording that you want. So that's been quite popular. Hundreds of people have downloaded that so far, and it's a nice way to show your support. I've also decided to do another in my Christmas hats series. I've had the cats in Christmas hats and the dogs in Christmas hats, and I thought, what should I do next? And I thought, why not do skulls in Christmas hats? Which was a thought that surprised me as well, but once it got into my head, I really wanted to try drawing it out, and so we ended up with skulls in Christmas hats, which I think is really quite fun. So if you want something different for your Christmas tree or for a card or something, I know it's quite early for Christmas, but people are starting stitching and getting prepared for that. And then I also have released the same skulls as silhouettes without the Christmas hats for anyone who might want a skull silhouette. I did the same with the cats and dogs, because the silhouette motifs can be so useful for cards or decorations or something like that. So that was an unusual foray for me into the world of skulls. I then did something that has been requested quite a while. I've had people waiting for more musicians, so I've finally done the tuba players, the female and male versions of those. I'm not sure actually how many instruments I've got now, possibly 10. I didn't count now. So that's the first new one for a while, so that's been fun to do. I promised people I'll do a French horn next. I'm not sure when that'll be, but hopefully at some point soon. Then Sarah requested a mountain bike pattern, so I had fun drawing that. That's my third bike pattern, but I didn't have a specifically mountain bike pattern, which I hadn't realised. So she asked for one, and I enjoyed doing that. Then a new cat pattern of cats and hearts, which I have quite a lot of cat and heart patterns, so they become quite difficult to title. So I named this one Peekaboo Cat Hearts, because of the way the cats are peeking out around the heart. And this is another of my patterns that you can stitch as a whole picture or you can stitch the individual pieces for cards or gift tags, or you can do both. So it's just got a lot of flexibility built in for anyone who loves cats, really. Carrying on the pet theme, on a sadder note, I then did a new pet memorial design called Because Someone We Love Is in Heaven. So this is a new one for my quite extensive pet memorial collection, for people to stitch during these really sad times. And then somebody asked for a human version of this beautiful wording. So I've done the same pattern without the paw prints, and that's available. It's my first human bereavement pattern for people going through the devastation of bereavement. So I hope you like those. And finally, in new patterns, I have a big new space pattern. This is Wolf Rayet 124, which is one of the early JWST images. It was taken fairly early, but it was released to the public, I think about 3 months ago. And it's just really beautiful with all the pink clouds billowing out. And several people asked me to make a pattern for it, and I thought it would be a really nice addition. It's the next in my range of large astronomy images that fit into 7-inch hoops. The Carina Nebula of the JWST has been particularly popular for those. So that's been quite popular, and it was really fun to design, and really hard work, as all the astronomy patterns are, but I'm pleased with how it worked out. So in case you're wondering what it is, I've got my notes down here. It's a Wolf Rayet type star, which I didn't know anything about Wolf Rayet stars, and spent a fascinating couple of hours lying in the garden reading about Wolf Rayet stars and getting completely distracted into the meaning of the word asymptotic, which I didn't know about, and is not the same as asymptomatic. And then excitedly messaging my friend and trying to explain asymptotic functions to her at about 10 in the morning, which led to her whimpering and running off, because that's what it's like being friends with me, really. And so it's a Wolf Rayet star, which is they're stars that are in a phase of casting off their outer layers before they're going to then explode in a supernova. So the stars become very unstable in the later stages of their lives, and this is a particular type of star that is puffing off all this gas, and this is then being illuminated, which is what you can see here. The very big star in the centre with the biggest diffraction lines coming off it is the star in question, that is causing all that gas to come off and illuminating it. And they're incredibly massive and luminous stars, and also quite briefly detectable in astronomical terms. So that's really, really beautiful picture to have charted. I hopefully manage to do some more astronomy patterns in this series in time. I've got my eye on the Orion Nebula, maybe, but we'll see. I'll see how that goes. So that's the end of the new patterns. On the subject of supernovae and going into the space news section, it's been exciting to hear about a new supernova that has just exploded, in terms of us being able to see it, in the Pinwheel galaxy. This happened, it was first observed on the 19th of May, and caused a lot of excitement in the astronomy community. It's the brightest supernova observed in 5 years, and the second brightest in 10 years. So there's been a lot of studies going on about this. So this is a type 2 supernova, which is the star at the end of its life, a very massive star, bigger than our sun, collapses in on itself, and it then rebounds because it hits a sort of brick wall when they meet the fusion of iron as the elements fuse into each other. They become heavier and heavier as the pressure increases, and they fuse higher and higher elements until you get to iron. And iron is a sort of chemical brick wall, because at that point, as you fuse from that into higher elements, it actually requires energy rather than outputting energy, and it's the output of energy that has balanced against the inward force of gravity to stop the star collapsing. So at that point, the star just completely starts to fall in on itself, and it then will rebound and form a giant supernova explosion, and then you're left with a shell in the middle of a white dwarf star, or in extreme cases, a black hole. So this is what's happened. It's 21 million light years away. So it actually happened 21 million years ago, but the light has only just reached Earth. And it's in the Pinwheel galaxy, which is in the Big Dipper or Plough, which in the constellation of Ursa Major, which is an extremely famous northern constellation. So this was actually visible with small telescopes. I have not seen it because I didn't have the energy to go out in the middle of the night. It's obviously only dark quite late now. It would have been fun, but Rose Senior in my group posted a picture that her husband Alan Senior took of it, which is this picture here, and she's given me permission to share it. So this is amazing. He took this a couple of days after it was first announced, and you can see the arrow pointing at the supernova, and you can see how bright it is. I mean, you've got a whole galaxy of billions of stars here, and then you've got what looks like one sort of giant star just shining out. There's just so much energy coming from this incredible explosion. So that's a really amazing picture from Alan, and I just love when people share things like that in the Facebook group. It's really brilliant. And in terms of looking up at the sky, it's really late now. So what with that and being ill, I haven't been doing much stargazing, but Venus is up still. I go on about Venus every time, but this will probably be the last time because it will be on the way out soon. So it is looking absolutely magnificent still in the twilight sky. Twilight normally because it's just light so late now here. But you can see it everywhere after sunset. So here, sort of 9:30 onwards, even in quite a pale sky, you will start to see this very bright star emerging. The star is actually a planet. It's lovely to see its friendly face. And the other day I saw we watched the sunrise at the quay, and then Venus came out, and then on the other side of the water as we walked round, we could see the full moon rising with sort of pink hue from the reflected light of the sunset on it, and that was really, really beautiful. That's the one they've been calling the strawberry moon now. I'm quite sceptical about weird moon names that have very suddenly swept in. Some people say that they are Native American in origin. I think quite a few Native Americans disagree with this, and of course there is no such thing as one Native American concept anyway. So it seems to be quite a recent concept, perhaps with older roots in some areas. So I think it can cause quite a lot of confusion, particularly when you have names like the pink moon and people think it's going to be pink for some reason, which is not exactly unreasonable, and it's not. So traditionally in this country, I think the only full moon names we had were the Easter or Passover moon, that triggers the date of Easter and Passover, and the harvest moon in the autumn, which is of course related to the harvest. But every full moon is special. You don't need a fancy name. to appreciate it. Just the same with super moons and so on. You can't really see them, but it is very interesting to learn about the moon's orbits, and see the full moon rising. Is just always just so beautiful. It's not such a good time to look at the moon through a telescope, because the craters will be illuminated head on, so you won't be able to see the shadows. But it's just obviously a magnificent sight in the sky, and particularly when you've just watched the sunset, and then you see it rising on the other side of the sky. And in the last bit of space news, my friend Suzanne just told me about a project from NASA that you can add your name to go on the Europa Clipper spacecraft, which is launching in October 2024, and arriving in Jupiter in 2030. And it's then going to do multiple flypaths of Europa, which is one of the 4 major moons of Jupiter. And Europa's been a source of great interest for a long time because it has water ice around it. Put up a picture of Europa here, where it has a very icy surface, and they believe there's an ocean underneath it. And so the mission is going to investigate not whether there is life there, but whether it is an environment that could feasibly host life. Where by life we are talking microbes, not fully functioning, fish or anything. I don't think anyone thinks that anything that big could survive out there. But it's a really fascinating moon. So the project is that you can add your name, and it will be put on a chip or something, and it will then fly out to Europa. So I'll add the link to that below. I did this for the Mars Perseverance rover, which is quite fun, and it's quite nice to think that my name is on it. And you can also follow these missions on Facebook. I follow the Europa Clipper mission page and the Mars Perseverance page, where the Perseverance rover does give updates in the first person about what it's seeing on Mars, which is quite fun. And last but not least, Stitchalong news. All my work for the next Stitchalong. So I finished stitching the Snowflake Stitchalong. I've got it sitting here, but of course I can't show you. So it's called Snowflakes and Stars Advent Calendar Stitchalong, and I've constructed all the files, and it's pretty much ready, which is really exciting. I bought some felt, which I had a job finding, to manage to get some in Hobbycraft in the end to back the hoop with. So I need to do that, and then my hoop will be finished. And I've written long instructions about all the ways that you could change the colours in the fabric and add beads and so on if you want to. So I'll probably put that on sale in about September, when people are feeling a bit more Christmassy. And it's going to come out as one section a day, every day through Advent, from 1st of December to the 24th of December. So that it's like an Advent calendar arriving in your inbox every day, just in your inbox. There's not going to be any material sent out. So that's really exciting. I've not done that before, and I hope it'll be really, really fun build up to Christmas of building up this snowflakes and stars picture. So that's been good. And then I have got the dragon Stitchalong back from my wonderful model stitcher Angie. In the last video I showed you the fabric that I have been produced especially for this piece by Nicole, who's hand dyeing it, and I then sent that off to Angie once I'd done the video, and she has now returned me the piece. So that's really, really good. It's so exciting when you get it back, and it's never quite the same. Even though I've been getting all the multiple photos, it never looks quite the same as actually seeing it in real life. So I've been then constructing all the files for that. I've just finished yesterday writing about each dragon, because I do like to include my little explanations in my stitch alongs and constructing the files. I need to carry on exporting the alternative file version. So Angie stitches from black and white files, so I'll now export all the colour versions and construct all the files from that. But we're nearly there on that one. So I'm getting there. And then Ellie, my other amazing model stitcher, is in the middle of stitching Wonders of the James Webb Space Telescope. That's the one I was talking about last video. I was embroiled in the middle of designing it. I managed to get to the end and get everything off to Ellie, who has been having a lot of fun stitching it. I made the poor girl restitch parts of all of the first 3 images, because I'm incredibly anal about the level of detail that I want to have in my space stitch-alongs, and just trying to fit so much detail from the images into such a small space with a limited number of colours is ridiculously complicated. And so the poor stitcher ends up having to unpick things as we try and perfect it to the very perfectionist standards that I work to. Fortunately, Ellie is incredibly good. Angie's done this in the past with all a lot of the previous ones. She restitched the planets multiple times and still quite traumatized by that, I think. So on the 4th image, we have got there with no restitching. That's very exciting. So she's on to the 5th one now. So she's working really hard on that, and hopefully that will be ready in the autumn as well. So that's all going ahead, and then after that I'm going to go back onto my temperature patterns for next year, the new temperature patterns, which I've done quite a lot of work on already. I should hopefully have at least 3, but they need a lot more work to finish them off and complete them. So that is going to be my next major project once I've got the dragons all wrapped up. And that is all my news, I think. So thank you so much for joining me. It's absolutely lovely to see you again. I always love hearing from you. Do come and join the Facebook group if you're not there already, because it's a really fun place. And I'll see you again soon, hopefully. Bye.